With QB Confidential, you're analyzing all quarterbacks all the time. What are some of the biggest rookie mistakes that rookies are making?
For me, I think the biggest thing is when you look at kind of the way the quarterback position is being developed. I coached high school football as well, and so I'm a little bit in the know about what's going on there. Is that a lot of football has become, what I call pure progression. I have this conversation all the time where, they want players to play quickly. They want their best athletes or best throwers to be on the field as quick as possible. So they try to develop a system that doesn't take quite as much learning, seeing coverages and deciphering what they're seeing and being able to change their reads on the fly. So they develop these systems that is just kind of like, it's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, no matter what you see, no matter what the defense does. So we can just kind of plug you in, and all you have to learn is, okay, who are you looking at first? Who are you looking at second? And if they're open, throw it to them. And, I think you can get away with that at the high school level and oftentimes at the college level because certain teams are so much better than other teams, and talent level is different. But it's one thing that I see when guys get to the NFL is, I actually just tweeted it yesterday. I was watching some of the preseason tape, and it's amazing to me how many of these quarterbacks, and especially young quarterbacks, will just drop back and they'll just like look at one guy. And they're looking to see if they can just find a little bit of a window, and then they throw it really hard and try to get it into that guy. And I'm thinking to myself, well, just read that defender. That defender is squeezing it to make it a hard throw. Look at that guy out there who's wide open. But they're not learning and developing how to read and go through progressions and what they need to see and processing information fast. And so I think that's what leads to a lot of these mistakes because they're trying to play the game too fast. They're throwing the ball too hard. They're trying to fit things into tight windows instead of truly learning how to, from my opinion, play the position, read defenders, get that processing down so they can make the game easier on themselves and not have to be perfect from a physical standpoint because they're winning the game from a mental standpoint.
Do a lot of rookies contact you with all of your accolades, everything you've done in the NFL, your first season going into, how you've come up. You're an NFL MVP, one of the greatest quarterbacks. You're a Hall of Famer. I imagine rookies are calling you day in and day out, be like, hey, man, can you watch my tape? Can you give me some advice? Is there anything I can do on this or that? Because I know as a WWE superstar, when I first got into WWE, I would go up to The Undertaker. I would go up to John Cena, who I believe are the GOATs, and I would ask them, I go, hey, man, can you watch my match? Can you give me any advice? Can you teach me some things? Are rookies doing that for you?
That's part of the reason why you're as good as you are. And, you're amazed at, I'm amazed at the lack of calls and connection that I do have. Is that, I always try to make myself available when I go to the combine. I try to get the numbers of as many guys as possible and connect with them. There's a number of guys, because I have their numbers that I take notes, all year long about different tape and stuff, and I'll send that to certain guys. But you'd be amazed at the lack of, back and forth that you have, or the lack of reaching out. I've had a few over the years that have done it, but very, very few. And, I don't know the answer why. Maybe they have other mentors, maybe, whatever. But I'm kind of dumbfounded by it that, because I try to make myself available. I'm not one of those guys that, if they text me, I don't get back to them. I'm always trying because I love teaching the sport. I love being able to share my expertise. I love to challenge guys and what they're thinking and what they're doing. And it goes for coaches too. I reach out to a lot of coaches and say, you want a quarterback perspective, you reach out to me because I do believe I have some knowledge and understanding of, of how things work and how quarterbacks see things and what can help, the little things that can help. And so, very few reach out. And, I don't know the answer. Maybe it's me. And like I said, maybe they've got other guys that they connect to, and so they don't need a resource like me. But I'm always trying to make myself available because I love that part of it. I know I'm probably never going to get into full-time coaching. But
why not?
I do just time, family, kids, grandkids. I often say that I'm too blessed to coach because of the great things that I've got going, whether it's NFL Network or the Westwood One stuff on the radio or the things I'm doing on TV, whether it's YouTube or NFL Net, whatever. I got a lot of stuff going and I love it. And it gives me great freedom to be able to to go watch my son play college football or to go see my grandkids or whatever that is. So I love what I'm doing, and it allows me a certain freedom that full-time coaching wouldn't. So, I've created my website, which you see kind of behind me, qbconfidential.com. To do that, I'll coach guys individually. I do a lot of the tape breakdowns and stuff and send them to guys. And that's kind of my niche to coach. And I would love to do kind of one-on-one mentoring or consulting for whomever. But that's kind of my niche for coaching, just because I don't want to do the full-time thing and put in the 60 hours a week when I've got other things going on. But I would love to have my hand in it, more with guys or with coaches or with the team or whatever that looks like. And so I do a little of that. A lot of it is, usually at the younger ages, I'll have different, QB coaches that'll bring, their high school guys or maybe some college guys out to the house a few times a year. And so I relish those opportunities, and I love those opportunities. But I would like to connect more with some NFL guys, along the way. And who knows, every year, new group of young guys, as they start to play, maybe it will develop into some relationships where I get to do that more on a full-time basis with those guys.
That amazes me that you said the lack of rookies calling you, because me, even to this day, even right now, I'm always asking people, what'd you think? Is there anything I can do? I'll look on Twitter, and granted, these are just fans or whatever, and I just want to see what they're talking about. But then to have an expert like you to sit there and go, hey, here's video of like what you're doing, and here's things that you can work on to do it, and they're not taking that opportunity to call you, is just mind-blowing to me.
I think the other thing too is just sometimes getting a different perspective, right? Because
like
all of us have been coached a certain way, or maybe we're in a place that they coach it a certain way, and not that it's necessarily wrong, but sometimes we speak a little bit of a different language, and so what a coach may be telling us may not fully connect with us. And so let me hear it from somebody else that's done it. Maybe they have a different perspective. They look at it a little differently, or they can challenge the way that I've been doing it or the way that I've been thinking about it, and can help me to think about something a different way. And that's what I always appreciated was guys that could give me a different perspective, and they would challenge what I already believe and make me go back and go, okay, they said this is what I've always thought. And I always believe it does one of two things. Like when somebody challenges me and I go back and then challenge those thoughts, is A, it either convicts me more in what I already believed, because it was like, okay, I see what they're saying, but I still think this is better. Or B, it gives me something that I hadn't thought about and go, wow, I never really considered that. Let me try that. Let me apply that and see if that is better, because it makes a lot of sense to me. And so that's why I always think that's great. And so that's why I always try to make myself available, like I said, to coaches and to players, because sometimes you go down a path as a coach, like, hey, I've always done it this way, and this is the way, and I've had some success doing it this way. And you can't ever step out of that box and go, well, how did they think about it? Because they're really good too. Maybe they're thinking about it a different way, that I could apply that onto what I already have. And now we just start stacking and become better. And so that's what I always appreciated, was those guys that had different perspectives to share with me. So it wasn't just giving me the same thing that I'd been told a million times, but telling me to look at it maybe a little bit differently, and something that really spoke my language.
Catch the Rich Eisen Show live weekdays from 12 to 3 p.m. Eastern on Roku Sports Channel in the U.S.